The last year and a half has been a time of great change for me. Singing, writing, working for the United Nations, my feet haven't touched the ground. It's been a fab time, but my life was turning into a merry-go-round of airports, cabs and faceless hotel rooms. It doesn't give a girl much time for reality. So I thought enough is enough. What's the point of travelling the world if I only see it behind tinted windows? So I decided that wherever I was, the United States, South America, Europe, Southeast Asia, or here in Britain, I was going to try and take time out to get a flavour of each country, meet some interesting young people, and I hope to learn something. I was going to go walkabout. Now I'm finally home again. I can catch my breath and look back at some of the amazing people I've met over the year. They've all coped with huge changes in their lives, and I've been trying to discover what makes them tick. Is it love, money, faith, or sheer desperation that drives them? People like Jessica. She lived on a huge disease-ridden rubbish tip in Manila, but refused to be beaten by her poor start in life. And the Brown kids. 5 musical geniuses in one family. Or Jorg, who was a neo-Nazi but now fights to stop the spread of fascism. And Reginaldo, a dancer from the slums of Rio who managed to win a scholarship to the Bolshoi Ballet. Last year, I was asked by the United Nations to be a Goodwill ambassador. My first assignment was in June, and they sent me to the Philippines. It's a great place to start. Everyone's young here. Over half the population, that's over 35 million, are under 20. I was shown some of the family planning initiatives the UN started. It's a country where families with 6 children are common. Not surprising when the head of the Catholic Church describes condoms as evil and fit only for animals.
A modern girl in a conservative country, Geri Halliwell has been brought here to encourage safe sex and greater family planning on the part of one of the most rapidly growing populations in the world.
I believe that everybody deserves to have control of their life, and that means having control over your fertility. That means being able to have protection against disease and unwanted pregnancies. That is everybody's fundamental right.
My journey truly began when I was introduced to one of the Philippines' best-loved public figures.
Wala pa akong contour sa jawline.
28-year-old Chris Aquino has always had money. She was born into one of the country's most high-profile political families. Every morning, she hosts a live TV chat show, attracting millions of devoted viewers. So I decided to turn the tables and chat to her.
Ako ang in-interview ni Geri Halliwell. Kilala niyo siya bilang Ginger Spice.
Now, I'm just being devil's advocate here. I look at you compared to most people in the Philippines. You've got wealth, you've got youth, you know, attractive women, you've got a child, you know, you've got a successful career. How do you feel that you stay in touch with what's going on in the world? Because I know from my own experience, you can be contained, you know, you've got PAs, makeup art, everything, everyone's doing everything for you. I mean, round the corner, you've got massive poverty. How can you relate to that?
First of all, I do a lot of regular things, and I think that they see that. I go to the grocery. I do it myself, and I talk to everybody. And because of television, people really open up to me.
But if you think that Chris is simply a third world Oprah Winfrey, think again. Her life's been full of incredible dramatic twists and turns. When she was just 1.5, Chris's father, the prominent political leader Ninoy Aquino, was imprisoned by President Marcos. When she was 9, the whole family were exiled to Boston on the understanding Chris's father never came back. But when she was 13, her father felt he had no choice but to return to the Philippines to meet his destiny.
He said the worst thing that could happen to him would be to just, be run over by a Boston taxi cab and die a meaningless death.
On the flight back to Manila, Chris's father, now opposition leader in waiting, brushed off threats that had been made on his life.
I am taking some precaution. I have my bulletproof vest, hoping that will be some kind of a protection. But if they hit me in the head, there's nothing we can do there.
It was about 2 or 3 in the morning that we received a call from...
Yeah.
It was first from a Tokyo news agency asking if we had heard and if we could confirm that my father had already been shot.
As he stepped off the plane, he was shot dead. The alleged assassin was immediately killed by security men.
It's very numbing in the sense that you're so far away and it happens.
Yeah, you couldn't quite take it in.
Yes, it only really hit us when we got home and we saw him in his coffin.
How old were you then?
I was 12. And when we got there and they opened up the casket, it's a really, really weird feeling to kiss someone who's almost as stiff as wood. That's what I remember very much from that experience. And what amazed me also was that you have to remember at that time Marcos was still in power, but literally millions of Filipinos went out into the streets during my dad's funeral. If you saw the movie of Mahatma Gandhi, the scene is very similar to that.
You kind of feel proud almost that everybody...
In a way, it consoled us because I knew that, and my mom said, this is the way your dad would have wanted to die.
Yeah, his death had meaning.
Yes.
The truth about what really happened to her father will probably never be known. But the killing is widely believed to have been plotted by supporters of the then President Marcos.
I remember also that I would receive these letters. And to this day, every time I think of it, I really get touched because kids wouldn't close their allowance in the letters. One of them said that I asked my mom to give you the allowance I was supposed to receive for this month. And hopefully it would make me feel better. And that came from someone who
I would have much money themselves.
Yes, exactly.
3 years later, the Marcoses lost power to another Aquino, Chris's mother, Corey, who up until then had been content as a housewife.
The long agony is over. We are finally free, and we can be truly proud of the unprecedented way we achieved our freedom.
Incredibly, in spite of many attempts on both her and Chris's life, she remained president for 6 years.
From being a political prisoner's daughter to becoming an exile's daughter, to coming home, to being a martyr's daughter, I was now a presidential daughter.
Oh my God.
So the cycle of life is really weird. Our lives are so much a part of everybody's lives
Your
as
life
well.
has been like a soap opera, isn't it? For
Yes.
them, almost.
Can we just pray for a happy ending now?
I'm sure you'll have a happy ending. Talking to Chris made me want to explore the other side of the Philippines. I knew there was poverty here, but wherever I went, I was gobsmacked by the appalling conditions that the poorest Filipinos had to put up with. But nothing prepared me for my visit to Payatas. Waste management, that's rubbish to you and me, is a terrible problem in the Philippines, causing disease and damaging the environment. And this dump site at Payatas has attracted an entire community of over 30,000 scavengers, all fighting over last week's rubbish just to survive.
You know, I've seen some poor countries, but I've never seen anything like this in my whole life. It's so frightening that this is what the world has come to, that people live on rubbish dumps. It just puts us all to shame, really, doesn't it? We just take everything for granted. Or up the road, you know, in the hotel we're staying at. You know, it's fine and, you know, full of luxury. It's got a gym with running machines. Oh, and that's the other thing that I cannot let you in on, but the smell is so intense, it's so dense and thick, you can hardly breathe through it. I just think they are here constantly. They don't know what fresh air is, and the flies, they're everywhere.
"19-year-old Jessica is one of the lucky ones. She's managed to escape from a life of scavenging and pay her way through school, but it hasn't been easy.
When I go to school, my classmate tease me, "Oh, your smells bad."
Really?
Yes.
How did you cope with that? How did it make you feel?
Sometimes I cried, but I try to ignore them because I don't want them to become the hindrances to not finish my studies, to stop studying.
Jessica used to scavenge through the night for bottles and pieces of metal, stopping just 1 hour before she was due at school. With 9 square miles of garbage, landslides are common, with rubbish often spontaneously combusting. The mountain is a dangerous place, and it's shocking to hear what some people throw away.
We saw cat in a bag, put in a bag. And then the other day we find a bag of fetuses.
I can't believe that.
You know what we do? I pretend to be a priest. Then we bury the.
Oh, that's so sad, isn't it? That someone would do that. How old were you when you found them?
I'm only 8.
Can I ask you, because I look in there, I've got a television in there. I mean, what did you do to escape?
I read.
You read a lot.
I used to read Peter Pan.
Peter Pan?
I always read fairy tales.
So you like escapism?
All over the mountain, there are shacks where families live, and even snack bars where you can pick up a spot of lunch. It's a desperate form of recycling, I suppose, but there's got to be a better way.
What do you feel about the way life has treated you?
I'm not happy.
You're not happy?
Because sometimes when I was a scavenger, I saw children in a good family, they have good dress. I feel envy. I ask myself, why
haven't you got those things?
Yes. That's also helped me to really to study.
It's encouraged you, it's driven you.
Yes.
Today, Jessica has managed to find a different sort of work. A charity discovered her talent for painting, and she now earns 30 pence for each T-shirt she designs.
A real big turning point as well is that you were picked out of thousands of children to represent a global march. Can you tell me about that? You tell me about it in your own words.
What is Global March?
Yeah, what is it? What are you fighting for?
We are fighting to eliminate child labor.
Right.
Yes, there I've become spokesperson.
That's fantastic.
Yes, in ILO, United Nations, in Geneva, Switzerland.
Yeah, so you've had to go and give talks?
Yes.
Because you've met President Clinton, haven't you? So you're going around there to try and stop what happened to you. So what do you want for the future?
I want a simple life, peaceful life. I want to be an architect. I want to build my own house.
To build your own house?
Yeah, but concrete house, but simple.
A concrete house?
Simple. And
not on a rubbish tip. I really hope it comes true for you. You're gorgeous. Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, I've only spent, you know, an hour here, and I swear I feel physically sick with the stench. This is the 21st century, and part of our world is living on a rubbish tip. You know, what is going on? I think Jessica is an example to us all through so much adversity, tiredness, poverty, filth. She's been so driven. That is triumph of the human spirit to say, you know what, I'm going to get out of this. And I just think that deserves so much admiration. It really doesn't respect. You know, I think we can only learn from people like Jessica. We really can.
At my next destination, I witnessed a completely different kind of childhood dedication, way off on the other side of the world. New York is a city I love. It's got such a great vibe full of interesting characters, and believe me, they don't come any more interesting than the Brown family. This house on the outskirts of New York plays host to some extraordinary siblings. Down in the basement, there's 16-year-old Gregory. He's got huge hands and goes for the big romantic pieces. Upstairs in the lounge, there's 17-year-old Deandra. She's a real extrovert. And then there's Desiree, who's a year older. She's the emotional one with the lyrical touch. And it doesn't stop there. Melody is 14 and has a fabulous technique. And let's not forget cute little Ryan playing Chopin on the top. He's a natural musical storyteller. 5 grand pianos and 5 grand talents. Do you know who you look like? I don't know if you've got something to the camera, but you remind me of, do you know Prince Harry? Yeah, you do. I have a soft spot for him, it's very cute. Okay, brothers and sisters. Now, I was in one of 5, and we always fight, and there's always sibling rivalry. There always is. Of course, there's competition. So how is that, doing the exact same thing? Because I don't know if I could cope with that.
Well, we don't feel competition towards each other.
Oh, come on.
I know. It's true.
When one wins, it's like
It's like
family wins, I guess.
Yeah, okay, that's true. I can understand you're all happy for each other. But, you know, I don't want to be negative. But what about this then? What about if someone come along and said, right, okay, I want you, but I don't want any else for something, what would you do?
we'd be happy for them.
So it's not all, it's not just a group thing, it's...
Yeah,
you would feel a slight little bit of jealousy. I would. I think, what about me?
Yeah, so we'll have a chance later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't come. I haven't seen any of it yet, so.
Amazingly, each of the 5 children have places at the Juilliard, one of the most prestigious music schools in the world.
The first time I saw the Brown kids, I said to myself, this can't be real. They just seemed too good together, too comfortable together, too close, too non-competitive. But I've known them now for a couple of years, and I have to say that the more I see them, the more real they seem.
And when these 5 prodigies get the chance to play together, the volume can practically blow the roof off. I was in New York to appear on the Rosie O'Donnell show, but I drove upstate to meet the 2 people who produced these amazing children. Keith and Lisa Brown took the decision to take their kids out of school and do it all themselves. So Keith and Lisa, you must feel very proud of your 5 children. But what about actually taking them out of, you know, like the environment of other school
Well, we
kids?
were worried about it
So I would
because-
be worried
Yeah,
that,
we were.
that interaction with other kids is important.
And if they were a single child, it would have been a bigger concern
yeah.
for us. But I mean, they have a great time together.
Well, see, they're also close in age. The most there is 2 years between, I think, Gregory and Deandra, 2.5.
I'm not saying it'd work out for everybody, but
Yeah,
for them it worked.
Do you think, because I know you're Mormons, okay, and I really don't know a lot about it, but do you think that's had a big influence on, you know, the way you've brought up your children? Because I have to say, there aren't a lot of parents that, you know, treat their children like that.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has the biggest emphasis on closeness in the family. You know?
Right.
The father doesn't go out and just forget his kids.
What would you feel if one of them, I don't know, like Desiree suddenly, she just said, I'm not doing it anymore?
We've thought about that, too.
Because you've put so much into it, I'd be gutted. So that's an English expression.
Yeah,
like.
Yeah, but, you know, if she chose something else that she could do well,
yeah,
it would be fine.
Or if she said, I want to be a cleaner. Or I'm going to go in a bank. My mother would be going, I remember when I suddenly said, I'm not going to work in hotels, Mother, because I'd taken up travel and tourism. My mother went mental at me, completely.
Well, they're all plenty bright kids, and they can do
They're capable
whatever
of
they
doing that. They're smart, I think, and they could do. Right now, they all see themselves, they kind of want to play this out and see what happens.
It's part of their being now.
Yeah. Okay, I have to ask you this question. No. It's not a test. I think, you know, there is some sort of unity between spirituality and music, because music is so powerful. It kind of is you don't have to actually understand the words, it's just a feeling and it gives you strength. It's empowering.
Sometimes the effect of spirituality and art are very, very similar.
Absolutely.
And so...
so you think they
they're
very,
very much. And I mean, sometimes when I'm, you know, feeling depressed or I'm worried about something, I can just sit down and it's just an outlet for me to be able to express and to get out of myself for a little while, and then things become clear.
Well, as you're playing?
Yeah, it helps a lot. And then you draw on that power when you're actually performing, because you try and get something across to the audience. You want to make them feel something too, along with what you're feeling. So
I understand that. Yeah, that's brilliant. I bunked off my music lesson and got caught, I have to say. And that is why I had one music lesson, piano, and one thing that I have not sometimes is dedication and concentration. And that's why I can only play this. And I've always said that whoever can play the top end of this will be my husband. Okay, so I think you might be able to do it. Let me find it. This is a masterpiece. Beethoven's Fifth. Can you do the top? One other thing. And that one. I do it at bars, restaurants, you know. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to say to you. Is obviously your daughter's absolutely gorgeous. You know, like you. And what are you going to do when you've got these boyfriends knocking at the door, you know, bringing them home really late? Because you know what happens, don't you? The attention span goes absolutely.
But you know
when
what?
a girl falls in love, or any of one falls in love, I know when I write songs, my creativity goes out the window.
Distracted.
Distracted. What do you do?
But the worst part of that is when they're younger, in junior high and high school, and we made it through that time.
Yeah, well, that was...
And the music was a big help. The music was a
they were
huge help in
distracted
that.
from time to time.
Yeah.
I mean,
and do you become that, you know, what time do you call this?
No, we have never given them
a curfew,
because they've shown to be responsible. Why do you have to tell them what to do and when to do it if they have shown that they're responsible
I'm taking notes because when I have a child, I'm saying, right.
It's a constant thing being a parent to try to think, now what can I do to discipline or to teach my child without, you know,
You are like the Waltons for the 21st century.
Oh, no!
I guess it's one thing for talent to be nurtured in a happy middle-class home in a wealthy country. But it must be so hard to shine through if you're born in the slums of Rio and all your energy is taken up simply finding enough to eat. While I was working in Rio, I was told that something wonderful was going on in the most unlikely of places.
Over half the population live below the poverty line. There are 700 of these shanty towns. I've come to this one to meet a remarkable boy with an amazing talent.
What I want to know is, in a nation of football fanatics, how did Reginaldo discover ballet?
Começou assim, aos 12 anos de idade, tinha uma
When I
menina.
was 12 years old, I had this neighbor, a friend of mine. She was a ballet dancer.
Aqui perto tem um centro que ajuda crianças que não têm condições.
And close by, there's a place where they teach ballet for children that cannot afford paying for lessons.
Oh, really? Aí ela me levou.
So she took me there.
E foi assim, paixão à primeira vista, porque
And it was a first sight passion.
eu não sabia que existia balé.
I didn't even know ballet existed.
What, and how did you, you just went along and you saw it and you fell in love with it?
Parece que é o destino, sabe? Eu não sabia,
It looked like
sabe?
destiny because it was so big and so powerful. I fell in love so
Era
quickly.
tão...
The incredible reward for Reginaldo's devotion is being the only boy in the world last year to win a scholarship to train with the Bolshoi Ballet.
Ele com certeza vai chegar a uma coisa.
I think it's only time that will take him to be a Baryshnikov, an Uriev.
É só o tempo.
It's just time because he has everything that these men had.
Living in Brazil's macho culture, Reginaldo's family, all unemployed, eventually came to terms with his unusual talent.
Veja bem, pelo menos aqui no Brasil tem esse.
In Brazil, there's a big preconception about men dancing because people say, oh, that's women's stuff.
Tipo de dança que ficou muito. Aqui fica muito.
But I think it's okay because I'm his brother and dancing's good for him, and we like that.
Isso não é uma coisa para homem.
No início, eles não davam assim muita força.
In the beginning, they didn't like it. So they said, you should try other things. I mean, that's not for you.
I mean, when I started, what I was doing, my parents said to me, why don't you get a proper job? It was the same. Yeah.
Era a mesma coisa que meus pais falaram.
It's the same thing that my parents told me.
Acho assim, a gente tem que acreditar no sonho, por mais difícil que ele seja.
We always have to believe in our dreams so that we can make them true.
Because, I mean, I look around you and you're very lucky. You're one of, very few that have managed to come out from where you are and you have a very good opportunity, but not everybody has that. Do you think that is your own self-drive or do you think it was luck?
Acho que é o destino, sabe?
I think it's destiny. I think God writes it and what's written is there and that's what really happens.
Realmente eu não acredito, porque eu nunca imaginei isso pra minha vida, nunca mesmo.
Because I never imagined this for my life.
Right. On a more personal level, I mean, what do you hope for? Do you want a family? Or do you have a girlfriend or boyfriend? Or what do you want from the future?
O que você espera do futuro? Por exemplo, você quer casar, quer ter filhos? Como é que é essa história pra você?
Quero se casar, sabe?
The whole thing.
Construir uma família, ter um filho, de
Yes, I want
preferência
to have
homem.
a family, a child.
Mas não agora, assim, mas...
But not now.
But not now.
Agora
You've
é
got
só
too much to do.
namorar, sair.
Now I just want to date and go out.
Yeah. Be young. Should we do some ballet? Should we do a plie? Tell him to do, let's do a plie. That's all I know. I think what amazed me so much about Reginaldo, that he really truly believed in destiny. Most of these kids will never see past this little village, and let alone go to Russia. So that really proves that anything is possible in life. Think I'll make it? Think it's too late for me?
Back at home, it's hard to imagine a greater contrast from the sun-drenched slums of Rio to the beautiful valleys of Pembrokeshire. One wet Welsh September day, I had lunch with a group of people who live their lives according to a strict set of eco-principles. And they seemed to think we'd all be happier that way. It sometimes seems to me that the human spirit thrives in a tough environment. So back home, I was interested to visit these 20 or so well-educated individuals, so fed up with the stress factor in modern living, they opted for hardship as a way of life. So, what are you eating?
Well, it's
bread,
all from the
homemade bread.
garden.
It's brand new.
Tomatoes, cucumbers, carrots. It's very, very simple.
And it's all homegrown.
Have some of these tomatoes because they're really sweet. The little ones especially.
People forget what a real tomato tastes like. The difference is amazing. They've chosen to reject the creature comforts we all take for granted. There's no fridge or washing machine, and what heating there is has to come from collected and chopped firewood. One of the few concessions to the 21st century is a humble 12-volt electrical circuit powered by the wind and sun.
It's not particularly bright, but it comes off the windmill and off the water turbine, so they all go into these
Oh,
batteries.
so it's all, you know, solar powered.
Yeah.
Wow. So you don't get any electricity bills?
It's 19p last quarter, I think.
19p?
Yeah, we are actually on
19 pence?
That's right, yeah. It's good now.
Mine was about £1,900.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. And what do you feel about the outside world, though?
Well, we never go near it.
I was wondering if you know me when I came. So you know that I left the Spice Girls?
Yeah, it's a tragedy.
We're really upset.
Congratulations.
Well, I was really shocked, you know, when you left, and then gradually we came to terms with it, and we realised that you were going to be an ambassador for the round, and everything was going to be cool.
It was touch and go, you still worried?
Yeah.
Me too.
Running down the road in the middle of the night. Light don't mean it's gonna be alright. Running down the road in the middle of the night. Saying myself it's gonna be here all.
The community was originally set up by Emma, Martha's mum. So what exactly do you believe in? What's the manifesto behind this whole thing?
I believe that as a species we need to choose simplicity. It's to do with quality of life instead of quantity, I suppose. I think there's enough for everybody in this world if most of us don't take too much.
Yeah, they say there is enough food to go around the world 4 times over. There is no need for starvation.
Yeah, I'm sure that's right.
You know, it is a different way of life, and most people, you know, will find it, you know, hard to digest. I mean, why do you choose to live like this?
Well, it's out of respect for the environment.
Yeah.
A desire to live closer to the land, I guess.
Yeah.
And to be more a part of the environment and to not be so separate, I guess. Yeah, be a species among many, I think.
What do you mean, a species among many?
It's like you live, instead of just doing what you want to do, you respect the fact that there is all these different things that are living on the planet at the same time, and you respect
Not
what
just
they're
human
doing.
beings.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi. What's your horse called? Dominic. Oh, Harry's been frightened. What is it? What is it called?
Martha showed me their rather unusual sanitary arrangements. Hang on, so where is the flush?
You have no flush. What you do is you put in things like sawdust, nettles, other things like that, which stop it being really horrible and disgusting.
What I really liked was this magical eco-house, hidden down at the bottom of a field, built by Tony, one of Martha's parents' closest friends. He built it himself?
Yeah, it's quite good fun, actually. It's wood, grass, a few bits of stone.
Hello. Hi. What? Oh my God! This is amazing. Hang on, so the structure of it is made out of wood?
Well, yeah, wood.
Uh-huh.
So all the poles rest on the other poles. You start off
How much
with
did it
one.
cost you to make?
The whole thing,
Yeah.
2,500.
Oh my God.
It's quite cheap, isn't it? That's probably why they want us to pull it down, because it's a threat to the whole housing business.
Who wants you to put it down?
Planners want us to put it down.
Why do they want you to put it down?
Well, because they don't have rules for funky houses in the countryside, really.
But it's not really an eyesore, is it? It really blends in.
No, I mean, they could, I think they could, enlarged their rules a bit to take account of low-impact housing.
Yeah, it's hardly a concrete housing estate, is it?
No, there's no cement in it or concrete,
Yeah.
in fact. Yeah, it's meant to sort of rot away after about 30 years, in fact. Yeah, that's the
So
idea.
it is an eco house, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Tony realised many years ago that the 9-to-5 job, working for the council, wasn't right for him. A lot of people will be dying to know, do you feel better, you know, emotionally, spiritually living here?
Yes, because it's natural. It's natural. I mean, out there I can watch just the birds and listen to the rain and stuff like that. Being in nature is what we've done for thousands of years.
And you've got
And
the
it's-
space here as well, that's
Yeah,
the other thing. You can just walk outside and there's nothing but...
In your bare feet?
Yeah.
Well, she does, actually, don't you?
The answer to life is simplicity.
Well,
keep it simple.
Yeah, it's
Most
there
of
is
us
a lot in it.
complicate our lives.
Yeah, that's right.
Distractions.
That's right. I'm worried about your life, quite honestly. Yeah,
Are you?
Yeah, I worry about it a lot.
Do you
Thinking
think I
like
should come and
Geri's
live?
like she's too busy, man.
Yeah.
Just, yeah. Here's our visitor's book, or our guest stars sign it.
Geri Halliwell was here
Did she like it
at
at all?
the end of the century.
Did she like
She
it
loved
at all?
it.
Right.
I loved it. Yeah. And if it all goes wrong, can you spare me a room?
Right, yeah, go on.
A few months back, I was working in a city that's probably been through more dramatic changes than any other this century, and since the fall of communism, it's facing up to its biggest challenge yet. Willkommen in Berlin. It's now 10 years since the Berlin Wall came down. Well, most of it anyway. The initial euphoria of knocking things down seems to have been replaced, big time, by building things up. It's like one giant construction site, as the old East Berlin tries desperately to catch up on 3 lost decades of Western decadence. Although unification has its own set of problems, it's a place I felt that was full of hope for the future. One young man, raised in East Germany, who's definitely cashed in on the new opportunities, is Mark Wollraab. Over the last 5 years, he's created a multi-million-pound empire. I was here for a German TV show, and time is limited. So I figured Mark was the perfect guide for a tour of New Berlin.
This was the eastern part again, and if we drive through the gate, we will be immediately after 20 meters in the western part. In this November 1989, it was a great feeling when I was 17, when all these thousands of people could jump on the east side and walk to that gate. So, still east, but here was the wall, and where the trees are, there was west part.
Oh, look, it's the Berlin. Oh, yeah. This is what's left.
It's vanishing a little bit, but this is, gives you an impression how the wall was.
I've been reading lots of books about Germany in the war and going through the time of, you know, the Nazis and someone living through a concentration camp. And what dawned on me and what somebody said was the generation after the war, they were left with guilt. But, you know, you're the youth of today. What do you think about it?
I think, but I was not born, so I could do nothing against it or for it.
Yeah.
So I have no feel of guilt, but I have the emotion to learn out of the history that never things can happen like this again.
An increasing number of young Germans, particularly in the former East Germany, don't share Mark's desire to learn from history. For them, the hardship of their early years hasn't bred hope, it's bred hatred. The last 10 years have seen an alarming revival of Nazism. And during recent elections, one fascist party got 17% of the vote. I mean, do you have opinion on the neo-Nazi groups that are up and coming, which is
you know, it's very surprising.
I think in that you have to see back on what history has done in the last 50 years and how we have still a lot of economical problems in the east side. And if you live in poorness, it's often a very easy way to show another people, say, it's not my problem, they make my problem.
Turn that negativity onto somebody else, blame it on somebody else. So you think a lot of those kind of racism and hatred to other people is because of economic problems?
There's a lot of basis in that, A lot of, and the bad way of education.
To discover more about how ordinary human beings can be swept up in a vicious tide of hatred, I decided to travel 40 miles north of Berlin to visit Sachsenhausen, one of the Third Reich's concentration camps and a monument to one of the most repulsive regimes in modern history. It's a desolate, chilling space, and the museum here leaves you in no doubt about the horrors that must have taken place less than 60 years ago. No matter how much I thought I knew about the Holocaust, I was appalled by the reality of this place. Most upsetting of all are the ovens where the bodies were burnt. I am now standing in a concentration camp, and this is where they used to incinerate the bodies. I think we've all felt hatred in our lives, sometimes to ourselves and other people, but sometimes you just can't understand it. I can't understand this. I'm about to meet a man who was part of a very hateful movement. Let's go meet him. Jörg used to be a leading light in the NPD, one of the new wave German neo-Nazi parties. A sickly child, he was an outcast at school. So when he was asked to join what seemed on the surface to be a friendly youth club, he leapt at it. Do you think you were quite vulnerable at the time? You know, that's why you wanted to join such a movement?
In the beginning, they gave the newcomers, me in this case, a very strong feeling of community, comradeship, appreciation and challenge. They make you feel at home. The reason for this is that it's easier to accept things from your friends.
I mean, some of the ideology of the Nazis is to hate Jews. Germans are the superior race. Did you not think that that's not right?
They gave you the feeling, and I thought it too, that you were something special, not only because you were German, but because you were superior within the German people, who were already superior anyway. The elite of the elite.
I know you said you didn't have a lot of friends, but how could you join a party whose beliefs were responsible for the deaths of millions of people?
There are two things I'd like to mention here. One, nobody really tells you that Hitler is supposed to be your idol. And second, they deny the Holocaust.
Right, so they say that the Holocaust didn't happen, it was a conspiracy.
They claim it's a lie, and they're trying very hard to prove it didn't happen in a pseudo-scientific sort of way, using documents and statements by witnesses who were former SS officials. They say it's a Jewish conspiracy, and of course you want to believe them. And furthermore, it fits into this theory that the media of this world is conspiring against Germany.
Ease everyone's conscience.
But you eventually turned your back on it. What brought that on?
Da hat es zwei Gründe gegeben, also so Fragen, Zweifel.
There were two reasons for that. I've always had many questions and doubts, and they kept coming back.
Und das Zweite war,
And the second was that I'm gay, and because of that, I epitomise something the Nazis are fighting against.
Nazis bin.
Do you think you would have left the party if you weren't gay?
Das ist eine sehr hypothetische Frage. Ich denke,
It's a very hypothetical question, but I think yes. However, I think it sped up my decision to leave. Otherwise, it might have taken a little bit longer.
Jörg has now left the party and writes and speaks out against fascism at considerable risk to his own personal safety.
So do you feel afraid for your own life? I mean, appearing on television, do you feel afraid? Ja.
Gut, was heißt Angst? Ich habe
Well, what is fear? Certainly I have precautionary measures, which means I don't leave the house without my defences.
Auch, dass ich nicht ganz wehrlos rumlaufe.
What's that then? Was hast du?
Also, so Tränengas.
Isn't that illegal?
Pistole.
CS gas, that is illegal, isn't it?
Nein, also man darf hier in Deutschland so ein
You're allowed to in Deutschland.
Tränengas.
You can't. So, what do you believe now?
An was ich glaube? Ich glaube an...
What do I believe in? I believe that everybody should have the opportunity to do what they want and be what they want to be.
Everyone is equal. So now you feel that.
Ja.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
I find it quite unbelievable after 50 years, with all the evidence standing here in a concentration camp, that the neo-Nazi party still exists. I think it's up to us as individuals, with our own sense of morality and respect for human beings, to make sure that this never happens again. If someone like Jörg can turn his life around, it gives me real hope for all our futures. But I know there's more I need to understand about the human spirit. So on the second part of my world walkabout, I'll be meeting another bunch of remarkable people, like Padre Zeka, the rock and roll priest from Rio with a twinkle in his eye. Zena, a British Muslim on the run from a family that's threatening to murder her. And Annette and Sven, whose love affair has survived 4 years travelling around the world, cooped up in a tiny sailing boat. So it's sex, love, death, God, and rock and roll.
I'm the freak here. I'm just happy bouncing here like Zebedee.
So you feel hopeful about our future?
Tenho.
Yes, you do. You're optimistic.
Todos os seres humanos são bons.
Oh, thank God for that.
No, thanks a lot.
Cheese!